Welcome to the Fundraising Leadership Podcast, where we engage in lively and thoughtful conversations with professionals in the nonprofit world. I'm Michelle Malloy Dillon, and I'm here with my fundraising leadership colleague, Margaret Cann. And Margaret is actually our podcast guest today because she has written a wonderful blog article about gaslighting ourselves. So welcome, Margaret.
Thanks, Michelle. Thanks. It's fun to be a guest.
I know. You and I were just saying, oh my gosh, you're the guest. This is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me, what had you writing this article? What got you started on this thinking for yourself?
Yeah. Well, there's two answers to that. And I think the idea originally to write a blog about this came from, as I write in the blog, I was telling this story about this ski accident that happened. And I mean, this happened to me probably in 2002, like a really long time ago. And somebody saying, wow, it sounds like you really, gaslighted yourself. And this idea of gaslighting has been so much in our vernacular recently. It's really become a very popular term, and people are really beginning to understand what it is and how toxic it is in interactions with other people. And so the idea that we might be gaslighting ourselves was, wait, what?
Yeah. And I want to be transparent with our listeners too, because it is very much in the vernacular and some of our listeners might not know what it means. So what's a definition of gaslighting?
Yeah, so I love, and when I'm explaining this to people, I do talk about, apparently, according to Wikipedia and Google, that this term came from a play in which it's about a married couple, and this could have gone either way, but as it happens, it is the husband who is trying to make his wife think that she's crazy. And so they keep having all of these interactions, and he denies, I've never seen it, but, denies what she says, or tells her that's not what happened, or, and when we begin to use it now in the vernacular, it's this place where the person who is gaslighting, just holds on to a reality that is not your reality.
They're manipulating somebody psychologically to make them think, well, yeah, I can't be right in that. I must be nuts, or I must be making it up.
Right. And it's the intention, though, is to make you feel crazy, or to lessen, I'm going to call it the perpetrator, the gaslighter. It's sort of to make yourself feel better, right? Not to take accountability for what you might have done or said, and to make it the other person's fault, or to make them think they're overreacting, or, to take away the reality that somebody was hurt, or that, that somebody has feels about something.
Yeah.
It's trying to, sort of demean that and devalidate that.
Right. Absolutely. And it's something that's so important in our culture right now. It's been important forever, but there's a bubbling up in it about our culture because with racial inequality, with sexism, there's a way that people gaslight each other in our society right now. There's been more awareness around that. And what I found so interesting about your article is you talk about gaslighting ourselves.
Yeah.
And for me, I was like, wait a minute. It's like I couldn't catch up with my thoughts when I first read your title to the blog. And as I began reading it, it made so much sense.
Yeah. And I love what you're saying, because when we gaslight, right, in a culture when people are trying to be disparaging to, people of color, or to women, there's such a demeaning aspect to it.
Yeah.
And, guess what? That's what many of us do to ourselves. So that is, not unlike the voice in which we talk to ourselves. And when, when we disparage ourselves for having a reaction, or having an emotion, or having an injury, either, even as I talk about in the blog.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's almost like, you and I, we talk a lot about saboteurs at fundraising leadership, and ways that we sort of shut ourselves down. And what comes up for me right now is like there's this gaslighting saboteur. It's like something about you're not important, or what what you're feeling here is not valid.
Yeah, I might name this one the "Suck It Up, Buttercup" saboteur.
Right.
Suck it up, Buttercup.
Yeah, no kidding.
No, because the implication is, be a good sport. Like, stop making it about you. Dust it off, dusty, right? Like it's so much energetically that we speak to ourselves that way.
Yeah, and I really related to what you wrote about on the blog about having a ski injury and just jumping right up and like skiing through it, acting like nothing was going on, and then it turned out to be a terrible injury.
It was a not insignificant injury.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
where I really
Absolutely.
did. I was really hurt, but first my ego couldn't reconcile, like I think of myself as a good skier, and the fact that I would wipe out that hard, I mean, that was I think my first point of of dissonance. Like, no way would I fall. Just like I wasn't running gates, I wasn't doing anything competitive. Like I was just skiing down a hill,
Right.
So first I think there was a denial that couldn't
Right.
have happened.
Right.
And honestly there was some vanity at play too. I could tell the first thing I was aware of is that my lip was bleeding and I had a fat lip.
Yeah.
So that's that standing up like, did I injure my face? Have I hurt my lip? Am I
people can
bleeding?
people can
It
see my
was
face. I'm worried about my
exactly.
face.
Yeah. No,
Right. I don't want to
yeah,
look hurt,
right. Exactly.
nor am I going
Yeah.
to act hurt. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's almost like there is a space of like being embarrassed, right? That I've just gone down or, you know, I don't want to be that person.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and there's this aspect to like there's wanting to be something different. Like you said something about like I'm a good skier. Like I'm not somebody who falls and injures ourselves. And there's a story that we can tell ourselves in our life, like I'm a good employee. Or I'm a good multitasker. I can do everything,
Right.
right? And yeah, and we can really, if we're really injured or we're hurt or we're sick or something is really happening, if we try to push through that, it's not going to work very well.
Yeah. Yeah. Except we do, right? I mean,
We
I
do
think,
all the
and,
time.
if you have broken a bone, as I did, sooner or later, there's a reckoning,
Right.
about that. But there's so much real estate of ways that we don't take stock or care of our injuries, even if
Yes.
they are not broken bones.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you and I were having a conversation the other day where you know, there's been, I mean, we've all had craziness in our life in the last year or so. And there was a mass shooting near my home, and there had been fires, and I've had to evacuate a few times. And, I didn't realize the accumulative effect that that had been having on me because I've just been go, 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 just keep going, keep going, keep going, and
Yeah,
it
I
catches up, and it was something that I've become aware of in myself recently. And so I'm sort of stepping back on some obligations that I have right now to give myself some added space
yeah,
because there's some attention that needs to happen right now for
yeah.
me.
Yeah, I love what you're saying because both Michelle and I live in the same place in
Hmm.
Boulder, Colorado, and we have had maybe just a lot. I don't want to say more than our fair share because no, but there is no fair share, but just so many events and fires and things in our community, and I've really thought about these different concentric circles of impact of these
Hmm.
things. Like there are people who lost their houses in the fire, and then there are people who almost or live next to
Hmm.
or lost part of and then there's people whose families did, and then there's we've just read about it, and but that we don't give ourselves permission to claim the impact of these experiences. We
Yes.
defer. Well, if I didn't lose my house, then there's nothing for me to process. There's a lot of that we do,
Yeah.
that we don't
Right.
give ourselves permission, like, to be affected by this stuff, or we think we don't deserve to get to have a reaction or response
Yeah.
emotionally to things.
And there's a lot of power and self authority that we can give ourselves by just pausing and acknowledging this is hard,
Yeah.
you know?
This is
There's
hard.
nothing to
It's
do about it, but this
right.
is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think
And
that is,
that's where the
the kind,
healing can start.
or at least we stop abandoning ourselves, right? I mean, there
Yeah.
is a way when we pretend that we're not feeling something, or we sort of soldier on.
Yeah.
It's really a form of self abandonment.
Yeah, it really is. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So
we're
what
not
did you,
taking care.
this example that you have in the blog about being injured like that, what was your takeaway from that experience for yourself?
Um, at the time, I think I continued with my narrative. It just sort of became a war story. Honestly, there was sort of a little bit of the hurt humor that nobody that I was with noticed or said
Mhm,
anything, or,
mhm.
until I got to work on Monday morning and my boss was the one who's like, Margaret, you're slurring your words, like do something. This
Yeah.
isn't going well. So, you know, th- there was a little bit of that, but there was more, like, listen, I hurt myself. And I mean, there was no tenderness at the time,
Yeah.
not till much later, honestly, was there the capacity to look back and go, wow, that
Wow.
was
I
not
had
a
a
version of
concussion. I
me.
had a broken bone. You still soldiered on and went to work on Monday morning. And yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think, I can look back and go, who was the me? Right.
Where was I? Yeah, because you abandoned yourself. Yeah, where was I?
Yeah. Where
I
was
had
I?
checked
Yeah.
out.
To take care of myself, or, and that's, again, it's an extreme example, but it's sort of this invitation to look at, wow, how often do we do things like that? Do we not say something is hard or ask
Mm.
for help when we need it, or, um, you know, it's,
Yeah, and it ends up in an imbalance, in this particular case that we're talking about, like an imbalance internally, like you couldn't keep going.
yeah,
And, y- you know, gaslighting, it becomes an imbalance, like someone is being diminished, or there's a voice that's being diminished, that's not being heard.
yeah,
And it leads to an imbalance that's really, really not okay.
yeah.
It's just not okay.
It's not okay. We were talking this morning, Michelle and I, with a group of people who I think all feel overworked, and
Hmm.
I'm proud of all of them for beginning to change their narrative a little bit. What's noteworthy, and I think that this is so common in the professional world, is this, feeling, not just personally, but the way that we take this into our workplace and feel like it's our job to take up slack when we're understaffed, and it's our job to be good sports and take one for the team and keep saying yes, until we buckle.
Yeah.
Right? There's so much burnout in the nonprofit world, and I'm gonna make up there's a connection here. you know?
Well, it is that soldiering on, no matter what. And there's really great power in pausing, and we paused as a group today as well to acknowledge, how hard something is
Yeah.
for
And
someone. And
and
it's
s-
not about fixing it or changing it, and it's also not about rushing over it or denying it,
yeah.
but
Yeah, and
acknowledging
but the thing that makes this hard, and it was one of the things we were talking about, like sometimes even when you stop gaslighting yourself and you
it.
get realistic and say, I literally can't take on one more task,
Hmm.
the answer has to be no. And
Right.
even once you know that and you honor that in oneself, then this wave of guilt and, right, and shame that you couldn't do it, and the hyperachiever saboteur beating
Yes.
us up. So I mean, this isn't a simple thing
No.
to reverse in ourselves.
Right.
A lot of programming that makes it tricky.
And a really allowing self-compassion for
Yeah,
ourselves
yeah.
internally. This is an internal journey here.
It is an internal journey. Yeah.
Yes.
And it has to be something that's important enough that you can hold, right? Like even if there is backlash.
Hmm. Yeah. 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 There's another term that's thrown around a lot is self-compassion. Right.
Yeah.
It's like I think of it as kind of a woo-woo term. It's just like, yeah.
As
And
these things all are. Yeah.
I know, as these things all are, and there's such power in it. It's like you can create your own language around it if you want. If it's not that, if it's something else. But there is something about offering ourselves a gentle voice, a voice of understanding and empathy, um, a pause, a
Yeah.
momentary rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I did this just about a year ago, actually, that I went through a workbook. It's called the Mindful Self Compassion Workbook, and it's authored by Kristen Neff, who has a TED Talk on self compassion. And it was hard, but it
Mhm.
was kind of a life changing practice for me.
Yeah.
To
And we'll share the link to that workbook
Yeah,
in the show notes. Yeah.
yeah.
So if you want to, listeners, if you'd like to go through that workbook, you're welcome to. Yeah.
Yeah. And, at the core, then it has a lot. And it points out, and I think this was really powerful to me, how really, really good we are at being nice to other people and being compassionate towards other people. And sometimes when we can't find a way to be kind to ourselves, like the practice is to imagine what you would say if you were speaking to a different person.
Yeah.
How if you had a child that was disappointed or hurt about something, or a partner or beloved friend or family member, you don't have trouble finding words to be kind. But when we try to speak to ourselves, suddenly we're tongue tied,
I
right?
know. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's so much easier to be compassionate toward other people. And then
Yeah.
that gets back into abandoning ourselves again.
Right.
It's like this cycle, right?
Yeah, it's hard. It is hard to put ourselves in that spotlight. Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
hard. Yeah. And so one of the practices in this book is really to acknowledge, first acknowledge, like, oh, I'm in a moment of suffering. And it might be this obvious physical pain, which I managed to ignore, but it might be more obvious to others. But it doesn't have to have anything to do with the physical pain, right? I mean,
No.
it's just that first space of just saying, like, oh, I'm in a moment of suffering, or ouch,
Well,
or
and two, it actually might be something physical, right? Even if it's not a physical injury like you had when you were skiing, but if there's something going on emotionally or psychologically, you may actually be feeling it in your body, and it might actually be your way of realizing, wait, there's something going on.
yeah,
You might be holding all your tension in your shoulders or in your hips or in your
yeah,
hands or something. And you're like, why are my hands throbbing right now? Like, what? Oh, I've been sleeping with my fists closed because there's something going on. Like, there's something that I'm trying to process here.
yeah. Yeah, totally. Yes, and I often, I get like agitated and my stomach starts to hurt and it's hard to take a deep breath, and
Yeah, right.
I have to stop with that. Like, sometimes it's minutes or hours, or it's rarely days, but it is
Mhm.
sometimes minutes or hours before I understand or can name what is going on. But
Yeah.
but it's at least a start to say, but something is
Something is
going on for
happening. I
me.
don't know what's going on, but our bodies have wisdom, and our
Yeah.
bodies are often giving us a clue.
Yeah, there's a title of a book that I have not read, but called Our Bodies Keep the Score,
Yeah,
which
I
is
have
so
read it. It's a
powerful.
wonderful book.
Yeah,
Yes. And it
yeah,
talks all about how our bodies hold on to our stressors and the negative voices that we have and the non-compassionate moments that we have for ourselves and things like that. Yeah, it's a great
yeah. But
book.
there's such an invitation, before we hold on and before it becomes residual
Hmm.
trauma or pain or illness, to pay attention in real time.
Yeah.
Wow, suddenly I have a stomach ache, or
Hmm.
suddenly I feel anxiety,
Hmm.
rising up in me, like pouring a glass of water in my chest, so
Yeah.
like those sensations.
Right. Right.
Which,
And I make up that, there's a lot of people in the world right now who are soldiering on. There's been a lot during COVID. There's been a lot of lives lost, a lot of lives impacted in many, many, many different ways. There's politics, there's climate change, there's all sorts of things going on right now. And it can become overwhelming.
yeah,
And so just acknowledging that, you know what, this feels overwhelming for me right now. I'm going to give myself a moment. It's okay. You
yeah,
get to give that to yourself.
It is, and it's such a place of strength. I mean, I think, during COVID, so many of our escape buttons, to borrow a term from Glennon
Mhm.
Doyle, kind of got taken away from us, all the things we normally can do when we feel
Yeah.
uncomfortable, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
going to go to the gym, or I'm going to get on an airplane and go
Right.
visit a friend, or,
Hmm.
I'm going to go sit on somebody's back porch and have some beers, or,
Hmm.
those all got taken away. And so I think there is a lot more discomfort
Yeah.
that people have had to face and be with.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. You point out a good thing, Margaret, because there's patterns that we all had in our life,
Yeah.
both good and bad, right? Good and bad patterns
Yeah.
in the before times. And, one of the gifts in this era is that everything's been shaken up.
Right. I mean, even and down to for people, who worked at offices, there was the
Hmm.
pattern of, you set your alarm and
Hmm.
you get up and you drink your coffee and you take a shower and you go to
Hmm.
work, right? Like
Hmm.
you soldier on. That
Hmm.
was that was kind of the pattern,
Yeah.
right?
So
Doesn't matter
what would life look like with some self-compassion for yourself
for
and
me or for
listening?
other people, for
Yeah.
everybody. Yeah.
For everyone to have some self-compassion. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a softness there.
There
And
is a
there's a
softness there.
there's an increasing, the more I do this, the more I feel steady and the more I actually feel less anxious or worried about the backlash, of me saying no to something, or,
Yeah.
the court of public opinion, whether
Yeah.
that's real or more in my head. But that was a big deterrent
Yeah.
to slowing down or to taking stock of what was going on for me, was worrying, what are other people going to
What are
say
other
or
people
think?
thinking? Yeah, right. Right. Absolutely.
And the more that we can sink into this space of self-compassion, the more honestly we understand that, that's the volume of that goes down,
Well, for
right?
me, it's like filling up my reserves.
Yeah,
I
say
get to
more.
fill up my gas tank,
Yeah,
and if I never stop to fill up my gas tank, I'm going to run out of gas. And then I'm going to be getting out of the car, and then I'm going to be trying to push it. It's going to be even harder. Like, you
yeah,
know what I mean? And this practice, and I do say practice because this is
yeah.
not an instantaneous thing, and I'm not always successful at giving myself self-compassion, and recognizing what I need in the moment. But with practice, I'm better at it, and I do it more often. And it has an ability within just a few minutes for me to be able to fill my reserves and to fill my gas tank again, so that I
Mm,
have what I need.
yeah,
And now I'm go again. Now I'm all in on what I'm creating.
right. It's ironic, right? Like you
Yes.
sometimes, just by slowing down and giving yourself a couple minutes, you actually can carry on.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
And there's something just, I don't know, that I'm I mean, the cruelty that we tolerate to ourselves. I mean, right?
Mm,
Like when we talk about gaslighting in our culture, it's under the heading of abuse,
yes.
right? And manipulation, and no good things. And the fact that, yeah, when we do that to ourselves, right? Like, ick.
Yeah. And the idea that it's a manipulation to ourselves as well. It's such a horrible word as well.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We hate it when other people are manipulative.
Right.
You know. Yeah.
Yeah. Freedom from the chains of self manipulation.
Yeah. Whew.
Woo!
Yeah.
That actually sounds great.
Yeah. And I love we're talking about this, and we're in obviously sort of a tender, soft personal space, but I really
Mhm.
also think, this is a leadership skill,
Yeah,
right? This is a productivity skill, this is a humanity skill, something that our teams and our workplaces really need.
absolutely. Hell, this is a parenting skill. And
Oh,
to be able to
yeah.
model for our kids too, I'm going to take a few minutes to myself here, or that was hard. Just need a
Yeah.
minute to recover. Yeah, that was
Or as
hard.
long as it takes, which is sometimes longer
Hmm.
than a minute.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. What a wonderful thing to model for everyone in your life.
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we want to share some resources with you. We also want to give you something to try as a result of this podcast. But what do we want them to try, Margaret?
Yeah, I just want to circle back to the conversation about, what does your body know? I mean, there's so much in that somatic space. And, my thing to try for people is, if you find yourself, just if you notice, you're off or you're agitated or just anything, like, put your hand on your heart, put your
Mm.
hands on your belly, hold your hand, put your hand on your head, like, make contact somewhere with your body and just be in loving curiosity. What is this? What can I learn from this, feeling, from this surge of energy? What is it, body? And ask yourself that. See what
Yeah,
happens.
yeah. And that can be so powerful, just putting your own hand on your own chest and just feeling what
Yeah,
comes from there. So you actually don't have to have the logic or the knowing in your brain first.
right. You don't need the words first. You just need
Yeah.
to be with the sensation, right? Our body
Mhm.
speaks in sensations, not
Yes.
words.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, thank you, Margaret. This is such an important
sure.
topic. It feels so timely just in our world right now. And yeah, thank you for stepping in as our fundraising leadership podcast guest today.
Yes, let's go gooey this week.
And we do want to share a resource with our listeners. And there's a mindful self compassion program that Margaret and David have developed, which is a wonderful program for groups or teams to go through together to practice this idea of mindful self compassion and the gifts that that can give to each individual and as a team, too.
Yeah, and it includes, the holding of accountability for people to actually do the program, and also coaching to help people deepen and push up against that edge of
Yeah.
discomfort with this practice.
So we'll put a link to that program in the show notes as well. And you can always send out an email to Margaret at fundraisingleadership.org if you have questions about that program too.
Yeah, and we'll also link to the workbook so that people can check that out, by
Yeah.
Kristen Neff.
Yeah, great. So thank you. And if you're enjoying the show, you can help us continue to bring thoughtful content with a monthly or annual contribution. This supports our production costs and keeps the show ads free. And you can make a contribution today using the link in the show notes. And this podcast is brought to you by Fundraising Leadership. We provide unique coaching and training programs that powerfully transform how you work in order to get results. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and you can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. Now go put it into practice.